Welcome back, tuning into today's second video. We're doing the CFS 6 months look ahead for November today. It's just for fun. Going ahead through the next 6 months, so we'll go from December through to May 2016. Can you believe, with this update? The charts are there, so you might as well use them. But as I always say, we just do this for fun. It's not to be relied upon. It's one model taken in isolation and running ahead 6 months. So it's highly experimental with pushing the envelope and really just have a bit of a laugh and seeing what the charts are showing, but don't necessarily take things too seriously, particularly, again, I have to say, if you are a cold lover or you want snow this winter. It's another one. The CFS has been in this mood for months now, so we've been doing these updates. It's another one, I'm afraid, to get behind the stage long. Because the Atlantic is going to be unleashed again. Don't think I'm giving too much away by saying that CFS has been going for this over the past several months when we've been doing these updates. So, no surprises that it's still doing it. But we'll have all the detail on it in a second, if you dare. But before I get on with that, just to say about the ads. There's links to articles and all those guys, but let's have a browse, which it's and click through links and any articles that you're interested in. And thanks very much for doing that. There's new ads on most pages. I open everything content. We've got some web close back up again. It's all happy to pay for the website. And Gas Shop is open, so you've got anything to shop to do at Amazon between now and Christmas. Just click through the Amazon banners in Gas Shop. You'll be able to go do your Christmas shopping as normal, and it will get a review fee on things that you are purchasing. And thanks very much for doing that. I think that's just about the quickest I've ever done it. So let's get on with the CFS 6 month look ahead. We'll have a look at the 700 millibar high dominance first of all, and then we'll have a look at the temperatures and precipitation that go with those anomalies as well. Right, let's start slowing down and calming down. This is the 700 millibar height anomaly for December. First of all, Atlantic unleashed. The CFS one has been predicting that the Atlantic would really steamroller back in through November, and indeed that has occurred. We've had, so far anyway, a very Atlantic-driven November, and the model is seeing this continuing on into December as well. Remember, on a height anomaly chart, or most of them anyway, blue extrapolates to low pressure and red extrapolates to high pressure. So for the coming month, for December, and of course this is just a month away, so in theory this should be more reliable than any other chart that we look at through this update. That's the theory anyway. So for December we have a deep trough of low pressure, anomalous trough within the 700 millibar flow to the west and the north of the country, and the jet streams more or less running through the UK like that. And again, you see it over here. Now, this trough is a little bit further southwards. It's displaced a little bit further southwards compared to what the CFS V2 was indicating last month of December. So over time, I have shifted this a little bit further to the south and the east, and this ridging that we've got down through the Mediterranean, these red colours, actually these are a little bit further southwards as well. So generally I think it's been shifted a little bit further south, and it means there is the potential, no more than that, for at least a few colder snaps, I would think, to be coming in with this. It's not a cold month, it's a very Atlantic driven month with no northern blocking at all over the polar field. And again, up here there's nothing at all to drive colder air down, so it's not going to be a cold month. But compared to what we saw last month with the December forecast, the potential just for a few more colder interruptions or cooler interruptions in December than the model was going for last month. Again, have a look at the temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with this in a second. So this is the 700 millibar height anomaly for January. What we see for January is that the ridge strengthens down to the south. So very strong ridge pushing out of North Africa through Spain, Portugal, into central parts of the Mediterranean, even Central Europe as well. That shoves this trough of low pressure further north. So the jet stream is coming back northwards again with this, and it's the same idea that it's going for last month, in that we'll be dragging up, if it comes off, we'll be dragging up very mild air from the south and southwest. You could really start to pump up some very warm temperatures for the time of year out of the tropical Atlantic, and also possibly even from North Africa as well. So that could be another exceptionally mild month in January. For February, well, quite a change for February actually, but trough of low pressure is still around the country. It's centred a little bit to the west. This ridging through the Med is going more towards the eastern part of the Mediterranean. So actually you can see it better over this side of the chart. It's going more towards Italy and southeastern Europe. We've got all of this red here extending out of Canada into southern Greenland, and hints, no more than that, but hints of a little bit of high pressure developing over the polar field as well. Now, this is not on its own a cold chart, and I'll show you the temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with this in a moment. This will still be reflecting quite mild conditions, and overall the flow is still trying to come up from sort of a southwesterly direction. But watch this space on this one. This could be the start of a change beginning to emerge for the latter part of winter. We know that quite a few of the long-range models have been sort of hinting at a change to colder weather and more block conditions late winter. The CFS isn't there yet, but it could just be starting to inch in that direction. So, as I say, watch this space for February. As we get through into March, it's the same idea that we had last month. So we've still got this trough of low pressure centred more or less over the country, ridging again coming out of Canada to south of Greenland into the central part of the Atlantic, and again ridging down to the south. It means that the potential is there for a cooler month with a bit of a trough developing within the 700 millibar flow. It's not a cold month again, but certainly signs, I think, here that as we're shifting to the late winter, we may be going more towards a cooler or possibly even colder pattern, reading between the lines. So if we have a look at April, the 700 millibar high anomaly for April looks like this. The trough is shifting more towards the northeast now, and ridging is more or less through the central part of the Atlantic. So this definitely looks a cooler month as we're going into April. Again, bit of a trough with the 700 millibar flow, and probably lining everything up northwest southeast in terms of the jet stream trajectory. And then finally we go through to May. This is 6 months away now, so it really is in the realm of just for fun. Don't take it seriously. But May actually looking quite a nice month with a ridge of high pressure extending up across many western parts of Europe. That looks very nice indeed. So the jet stream will be shoved off to the north with that as well. Could be a very pleasant end to the spring, even taste of early summer. But of course, 6 months away, just for fun, don't take it seriously. So, the temperature anomalies stack up like this. This is the horror show that we have for December, so a significantly warmer than average month across virtually the whole of Europe. Excuse me, it's just really Iceland, Scotland and Ireland coming out with average temperatures. Even there, it's not cold on average, but sort of average temperatures there. Otherwise, it's just a complete blanket of, blanket of red, really, a little bit of orange for Norway and for the UK, but really it's a blanket of red, very mild month coming up in December, if this is correct. The horror show goes on into January. January is even milder, in terms of the anomaly anyway, than December. So look at that. I mean, that could be breaking records really in terms of the mildness, right from Ireland and Portugal in the west over towards Russia in the east. In fact, Russia is more or less off the charts, off the scale I should say, in terms of the mildness. So really exceptionally mild month coming up in January, if that's correct. February also looking very mild. This is the one, though, that is changing a little bit. So it isn't, as I said, it isn't at a cold pattern yet, but it's evolving a little bit. So I think we're going to watch this space for February, for the end of the winter. Remember what's going on in February. I'll just very quickly talk about what the pattern is doing. It's trying to set up high pressure to the north of us through the polar field, and it's also sending the ridge that through January pumps the warmth across the whole of Europe. For February, it's trying to send it more towards the southeast of Europe, so around Italy, possibly the Balkans, and down to Greece and Turkey, which then there's also a trough of low pressure around here. So it's still trying to bring up these southwesterlies, but we've got to watch out for this high pressure that's beginning to get going across the polar field. I say it isn't at a cold pattern yet, you can quite clearly see that by those shocking temperature anomalies again, which will get exceptionally mild for the whole of Europe. But watch this space, because things could be changing a little bit from the CFS V2 in terms of February, and next month's update could be a little bit more enlightening. March still looking a mild average month across most parts of Europe, but notice the anomalies are quite clearly cool. So from February, for all that red, to March, we go mainly into the orange colour. So still a bit above average, but quite clearly cooler. And for the UK, we're back to average temperatures in March. That is as we're beginning to develop a bit of a trough within the 700 millibar flow, and probably starting to push jet stream a bit further south. April, cooling trend continues, so average temperatures here across many central, northern, western parts of the continent and the UK as well. For April, what's going on is that the trough low pressure being shifted further eastwards within the 700 millibar flow. So again, probably doing something like that with jet stream and aligning things northwest to southeast in terms of the direction of the jet stream. So March, April could be fairly cool months, possibly with some wintry interruptions and showery as well. And then for May, that's when the high pressure ridge is back in, so it looks a very pleasant month in May, but it's 6 months away, so let's not worry too much about that. Finally, the precipitation anomalies that go with all of this. December looking a complete washout. It's a very wet month coming up in December, and it's hardly surprising because the jet stream will be running through rather like that, so it's going to be a very active month, very mobile month with severe gales as well, with such a deep trough in the Atlantic. And significantly wetter than average. January also looking wetter than average, but not as wet as December, quite clearly. We've gone from the blue colours there, indicating it's such a wet month in December, to green colours, mainly in January. So clearly it's not as wet, but it is still wetter than average. The reason it's not as wet is that, of course, we're extending this ridge up from the south out of North Africa, shoving the jet stream a bit further north, something like that. And then as going to February, these are the signs maybe that in February we could start to shove the jet stream further south. Remember, the ridge is going down into that sort of area. We're beginning to get high pressure developing around Iceland, possibly indicated by these dry and average conditions around Norway as well. So high pressures up here that could start to send the jet stream southwards, could just about put us onto the colder side of the jet. We need to watch what the model is doing for February. And then we go through into the spring months, into March, a wetter than average month. And again, it's not really a surprise because there's a trough of low pressure within the 700 millibar flow, a bit like that. For April, near normal precipitation for April, bit wetter to the east. That's as the trough is being shoved off to the east. So again, there is a trough within the 700 millibar flow. Probably places us onto the cold side of the jet for both March and for April. And then as we go through into May, near normal precipitation for May. Then we've got the high pressure extending up from the south into much of Western Europe. So I would suspect that will probably be a very pleasant, warmer and drier than average month in May. Of course, it's 6 months away, so it's just for fun and not to be relied upon. So let's not worry too much about the spring months. Let's look at the first three, December, January and February. What we can say is that there's a very strong signal for a really wet, stormy month in December, and the position of the trough within the 700 millibar flow possibly allows for some cooler interludes in December. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a total write-off, the cold weather, but it is a milder but average month. January still looking a horror show if you want. Any cold weather midwinter, January looks awful. We've still that idea that the high pressure pumps up out of North Africa into the Mediterranean, sends the jet stream further north, and also pulls up very warm air, potentially from time of year anyway, from the tropics. And then February, that's the one we've got to keep an eye on. The high pressure, the ridge, wants to be shoved to the southeast of Europe. There are hints, no more than that, but hints of northern blocking, possibly from some sort of sudden stratospheric warming event developing over the polar field, which might start to turn things a bit colder for February. Not a huge amount of evidence at the moment, but you have to read between the lines with these long-range models, and I think Not sure, but I think that's where the CFS V2 is going to trend. So next month's CFS 6 months look ahead will be very, very interesting to see what it's showing for February. Remember, it's all just for fun. It's not to be relied upon. Hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. Tomorrow, a lot going on. Tomorrow there'll be a Christmas update in the evening. We'll also have Terry will be coming along with his mid-November to mid-December forecast, so that'll be very interesting. And we'll start off, it'll all kick off tomorrow on the website with, I think it's the 9th winter 2015-2016 update. Got some very, very interesting analogues from our good friend Stuart, amongst other things. So do come back for that tomorrow. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.